Today's lesson is going to be on the skill saw, or portable power saw. It's carpenter's one of carpenter's most used tools. It's a very handy tool, but it can also be a very dangerous tool. So today we're going to go over how to safely inspect a saw and set it up properly for use, and we're going to make a couple cuts and to show that the students how to use a saw properly. Okay, before we plug the saw in, we're going to inspect the cord for any damage or wear or frays or cuts. Okay, then we're going to check the blade guard to make sure it functions properly. Okay, we're going to check the trigger to make sure the trigger is not sticking, and we're going to check the cable adjustment to make sure this works properly. Okay, so we're going to, before we start the saw, we're going to properly set the saw to within 1/4 inch, to where we have a 1/4 inch of teeth showing below the material we're going to cut. Okay, so this saw is properly set up. We're going to plug the saw in. We're going to make our cuts. Before we make our cuts, we want to make sure that we have our material properly secured to the table so we can have both hands on the saw. So once we get the saw or material marked, which I've done already, when we make our cut, we're going to have 2 hands on the saw, and we're going to start the saw before the saw blade touches the material, and we're going to make our cut. Before we lift the saw up, we want to make sure it comes to a complete stop and that the blade guard comes to a complete stop before we remove it from our material. Now we're going to cut a 45-degree angle. Once again, letting the saw come to a complete stop before we move the saw off the material. Now, if there's not any questions, I'll have the students demonstrate how to use the saw.